And we're back. And today on the Bannering Boneheads, we're going to have a hot button discussion.
Hot button.
About a very controversial topic.
Ooh, I like controversy.
I know, that's why I'm here.
Well, what's the topic, Matthew?
How do we feel about climate change?
How do we feel about climate change?
I like the growling. That's the sign of an angry man.
Well, back in the 70s.
Back in my day.
Back in my day when we used to walk to school barefoot uphill both ways in the snow.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. So seriously, back in my day,
Okay.
they was talking about global cooling and the next ice age was coming. And
Right.
then
Was an
it
article
switched
written
to
about
global
that.
warming.
Right.
And now, because they can't prove either side, it's just plain climate change to cover all aspects.
So you don't think climate change is real?
I think climate change is real, and I think it's always changed.
Got you. You don't think climate change is real?
I do think climate change in general, it goes through cycles.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, but as a whole, no, I do not.
What do you mean by as a whole?
As a whole, them thinking, oh, they need to tax us to death to try to save the climate and crap like that. No.
Tread carefully.
No, hey, I say what I mean.
Where's that stay on topic sheet that we had?
No, hey, we're still talking about climate change.
All right. So you think it's a thing. You think it's a thing. I think it's a thing. When did the topic of climate change first arise?
That's a good question.
I really don't know.
I have an answer. The theory was first proposed in 1896 by a Swedish scientist that I cannot pronounce the name of.
Oh, give it a shot.
I didn't even write it down. It was that bad. Schwerty
Sound like that dude from the Muppets again.
Exactly. And as far
That's
back
good.
as 1896, they were saying that burning fossil fuels could contribute to global warming. What are the biggest drivers of climate change today as we understand it?
I honestly don't think we affect it. I really don't.
Hot take.
I really don't.
What about
Well,
you?
I tend to agree with them.
I think you're both wrong. I know, shocker.
So you actually believe that the fuel that we burn is from dinosaur fossils?
Oh, that's definitely not.
What's it from?
I think it just naturally produces because think about it, man. If it was actually fossil fuel, how many freaking dinosaurs would it take to make? We use millions of gallons. You ain't heard of anybody running out of it yet, you know.
I mean, wells go dry all the time.
I've never heard about it with the oil thing, but I think it replenishes. I really do. I think it's something the Earth naturally creates. Because how many dinosaurs would it take to make that? I mean, the dinosaurs will be stacked to the sun.
So
they melted. That's how we got it. The sun melted them.
So my co-hosts here believe that oil is a renewable resource that is regenerated by the earth.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. All right. So I don't even know how to move forward anymore.
Well, give us your dinosaur melting theory.
So I didn't come. I thought we accepted that oil was from fossils and fossil fuels being a thing. I didn't know that.
Fossil fuels, if you look it up.
I didn't know I was going to have to come
I
debunk
forget
that.
the guy that petitioned these people to actually name it fossil fuels, so it would sound like it was a something we were going to run out of. I read that. I read up on that, and I should have looked into it because I didn't really know he was going to talk about fossil fuels.
If I'd have known that was where we were going, I would have had my
next show. Fossil fuels.
Yeah,
somebody write that down. Maybe we can actually have that argument about that.
We'll have to do a follow-up on
But
this.
anyway, fossil fuels. Let's, for the sake of argument,
Okay.
can we agree fossil fuels is a term? Yeah. Whether or not
The
they're
term,
renewable,
yes.
Whether or not they're
term.
renewable is a whole different
Yeah.
podcast. But can we agree fossil fuels are a thing, and we all know we're all on the same page for it?
Yeah, we'll
right?
call it dinosaur juice.
Whatever. Whatever. I need some Jesus juice. Does anybody have some?
He's
some
the
punch
one that
punch?
brought it in this time.
Some jungle juice, some something. I'm too sober for this. 75% of greenhouse gases globally come from fossil fuels. 90% of carbon emissions come from fossil fuels. The interesting part of this, who is outputting that?
You mean the
Who's the biggest culprit for emissions?
As far as a country?
No, just in general. I'll give you a hint. It's not us. It's not your car. It's not your truck. It's not your house.
Don't tell me you're buying into the cow fart thing.
No, but I have. I'm going to touch not on the cow farts, but 100 companies globally, which is not a lot. 100 companies are responsible for 70% of all emissions since 1988.
Exxon?
Worldwide?
I don't have a list of the companies, but
Worldwide?
Worldwide, globally, 100 companies. And the reason I say that is because you getting an EV or you biking to work is not going to make a damn difference in climate change whatsoever. That's my position before both of you start tackling me with your... I'm going to start bringing tasers in here at times to wheel both of you off.
I heard this scientist talking one time, and I should have looked more information up on this. I should have. My apologies.
I will take that one step further. I said 100 companies just before you get into that. 25 of those companies are responsible for 50% of the emissions. So the other 75 are small players compared to those 25.
You got a list of those? Or?
I wish I would have brought it, but I didn't know we were going to get that deep into this.
Yeah.
So, because I brought all that to say that...
Was those particular companies, what'd you say, 25%?
Yes.
Are they worldwide as well? Or
Yes,
are they
globally.
Okay.
So you were saying?
Oh, I was listening to this scientist talk about, the plants, the trees and all that stuff, basically it's a circle. We breathe in, we breathe out. Everything's, we supply for them, they supply for us.
Sure.
Kind of thing. And he was talking about the levels worldwide were not even stupid numbers. They were you got to be within a certain range just to keep everything going, and we were nowhere near a stupid level.
Well, so the other component to this is that the Amazon, hello beeping, the Amazon's considered the world's lungs. They're what take in all of our carbon emissions and put out oxygen for us. Since, where is my notation? In the last 50 years, we've lost 20% of the Amazon. So imagine losing 20% of your lung and how much that would change what you're feeling. So climate change and the cause of it is not one particular thing. It's all cumulative. And second from that, it doesn't matter what individual efforts the three of us do here to try and fix it. We cannot combat pollution on the scale of these 100 companies. No matter what we do, we can't offset that.
Well, then even in addition to that, you got volcanoes and crap like that you can't stop eruptions.
No.
So that's putting off, bad stuff too.
I didn't look into like the percentages of emissions for like a volcanic eruption. I didn't think that was going to come up. But climate change is real. Yeah. We all agree upon that. Climate change is a cycle, to David's point. I agree with that. We've been staring at Tony for a long time. There we are. That's even worse. It is a cycle. Humans are not causing climate change. Climate change was going to happen whether we were here or not.
Yeah.
Humans are expediting climate change. We're speeding up that cycle through the things that we do.
Well, I mean, like I said, if you go back to that one dude I was listening to, and levels are not they're actually in a really good place. Are we really?
Yeah.
You think
we've done a lot of things to offset that. Like, it's not the 70s anymore with smog and all those issues, and we've corrected that through
here
regulation.
Anyway.
Well, I mean,
you look at like China and
China,
stuff.
India, those are And that's one of the things that America did is we outsourced our pollution program. Like, most of the things you recycle end up in India in a river somewhere because if we don't see it, we don't think it's an issue.
Yeah.
So we just outsource that problem to somebody else.
And I also read too, like a lot of the plastic recyclings, recycle nowhere near the amount that
No.
you think.
No, not at all. And it goes back to like the onus is always put upon us as individuals to try and fix this problem when we can't do anything to offset this. And there's actually an excellent example from the 80s, which both of you lived through, which was the hole in the ozone layer.
Yeah.
We fixed it because we regulated the company so they didn't use that chemical anymore, and then the ozone healed itself. We can do the same thing with climate change, but we're focusing the wrong way. We're trying to regulate what we do versus what these large, gigantic players are doing that are dumping pollution and emissions into the earth with little to no oversight.
Were some of those companies in the United States?
Yeah.
They were?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Because I think we probably do have stricter laws and stuff.
We're not Europe, which is very, very strict on pollution and conservation and all that stuff. But we're not India, where it's just a free for all. You know, it's kind of mixed, and it's also very, very dependent upon where you are locally. Like the EPA is pretty widespread, and the regulations are pretty well versed. But individual regulations are also a very key component because our country is so large. You can't make a blanket statement for everything. What applies in Arizona won't apply in Asheville. You know, those are different environments.
Yeah. But I'm like, I don't think anything we really do is going to make a difference. I really don't.
We have to regulate the companies. You've got to chase the corporations and the industries because
But
what we're doing doesn't
back to
matter.
what I was saying with that other.
What, the cow farts?
No. The scientists I was talking about, I mean, you know, you got to be at a certain level just to sustain life, you know, because of the way things are. You know, we take oxygen, plants take.
I'd be curious to see those numbers because once
I should have looked that up.
you got to think, once upon a time we didn't have any of this, right?
Yeah.
And life went on just fine.
Yeah.
So I question the validity of his statements. I'd like to know his qualifications.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was, honestly. And it was a pretty interesting. I don't remember if it was an article I read or if it was a video I watched. It was interesting either way, but like, you know, I just don't think we're going to. I don't think we're going to affect it. I really don't.
Do you got anything before I dive into the cow farts?
You're going to go into the cow farts?
Not specifically, but we are going to talk about cattle and livestock.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
No, I agree. I think it's just a natural occurrence. I don't think.
So you don't think that anything that we're doing in particular is affecting it in any way, shape, or form? It was going to happen no matter what.
Well, anything you do, I will justify it by saying anything that you do has an equal and opposite reaction. Mm-hmm. Okay. Whether the companies that you're talking about, and I would like to know who they are, and
I'll get you a list.
Yeah, do that. I think they could affect it because when you look at the world, the big round world that we've got.
What do you mean? I was told it was flat.
Oh, now we're getting.
I feel
deep.
like I've been lied to. What do you mean the world is round?
When you look at the oxygen or the air layer around the world, it's nothing more than a thin skin like on an onion.
Okay.
You know, as compared to the world. So with it being so thin, I'm not saying that these companies or anything, whatever, isn't attributing to the change. Mm-hmm. Okay. But overall, I do believe that most of what we're experiencing is a natural occurrence and
I think
it's biblical as well. So
Jesus
I had to
Christ,
do it.
every freaking time. I think
I'm here for you, Matthew.
I feel the love. Let me tell you. I think that this is one of those things that's been politicized, and yeah, you can put up the stay on topic thing if you want to. The people that have actually been researching this, I don't think have ever been like, it's global warming, it's global cooling. I think they have been presenting it as this is climate change, and then the talking heads have seized upon those key words to make them make it political, invalidate their positions, make it seem worse than it is or better than it is, all that good stuff. Because, you know, like 2 months ago, we were all looking at each other going, man, if this global warming keeps up, we're all going to freeze to death.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not global warming, it's global weirding. You know, like it's 70 degrees here in February, and New Orleans had 4 feet of snow.
I wish I'd had that picture ready where they were skiing in the French Quarter.
That's not freaking natural, dude.
I got it on my phone.
Like,
Do you?
that is a problem. Yeah. That is climate change. And humans this was going to happen no matter what. But humans are expediting that process to where it happens
Well,
quicker,
you know, they're talking about the poles shifting, right?
which happens cyclically as well.
It happened. Yeah, it's another thing. Do you think that somehow affects
100%.
climate in
I think it does have a
in an
part of
area
it. Yeah,
or
it
all
can.
areas? Maybe like you know, when we were younger, it seemed like we had more snow. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I meant to write down how much the glaciers have receded in the last 20 years, and I forgot to do that. But I mean, even that's been substantial. The glacier loss that we've suffered since the 1980s is tremendous. I mean, you're talking sometimes hundreds of feet. Sometimes glaciers are completely gone.
Yeah, I think that's just a natural thing too.
It is, but those are the ones where it's like, what we're doing making that happen faster? And the answer is probably yes.
I don't think so. I really don't.
So cow farts.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, I got one more thing. Now, if they're melting so fast, okay, back again, we'll go back to the 80s, or maybe it was in the 90s. They were talking about by 2012,
Sea
Florida's
levels.
going to be underwater.
Yeah.
I mean, sea levels have risen. You can see that. You can go to Myrtle Beach and see that.
I don't see that.
You can compare pictures from the 70s of Myrtle Beach to now, and like coming out of the hotel, some of those stairs were 25 or 30 steps long. Now they're 5. Sea levels are rising. They're not rising at the. California's not going to shake off the U.S. with an earthquake, and Florida's not going to get buried underwater in our lifetimes. But there is evidence to suggest that at some point in the future, be hundreds of years, thousands of years, that will happen.
Well, I mean, if you look back, they've found cities underwater now, so things
Alas.
happen.
Right, and that's the thing. Everyone frames climate control like if we all stop driving fossil fuels right now and we all drove EVs for here on out, that we're instantly going to stop everything for forever. No, you're still talking about a process that's going to take hundreds and thousands of years.
For the Earth to heal itself.
Correct. But what we're doing is a contributing factor. And we can modify that, but modifying the individual, what we're going to do is not going to change, but it's a hell of a lot easier to regulate stuff onto us than it is a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Yeah,
And
Well, I'll
that's
be
why
honest.
we get
Fight
stuck
it.
holding the bag at the end of the day.
I'll be honest with you, as far as the global, we're going to call it global warming, because
Sure.
that's what they keep preaching anyway instead of climate change. If there is any singular factor that I see that's causing it, it's cutting down the trees.
Deforestation is a big problem. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, it's putting more and more roads, tar, and all that because the black absorbs the heat. Okay, which in turn keeps the heat down here.
Correct.
And I mean, in a nutshell, I think that's what it is. I mean, you look at the ocean; it's
So can I-
reflecting the heat.
Can I sum up your thoughts?
Absolutely.
You think the problem is that we've just got too many freaking people?
No.
I think that's part of it.
Think about it. More roads, less trees to build houses for people. You have too many people. And there's an argument that the world's population is too high. There's no good way to talk about this without sounding like you're into eugenics, so I'm not going to. Because there is no ethical way to reduce the
Yeah.
population. And I do not agree with any of that.
Yeah, I was about to call
need
you
to
Bill
point that
Gates
out.
there.
Need to throw that out there.
Yeah,
But I mean,
don't
it's
think it
true. There are too many people. We're going to reach a tipping point where the Earth cannot sustain humanity if we keep
But don't you
going
think
forward.
that the world or the population will balance itself out?
At some point, yes. Like that's why I say you can't really talk about this without sounding like you're into eugenics, which I'm not. At some point, the Earth will just stop producing things, and humans will naturally die off through attrition, and will balance back out again. Yes, I agree. It's kind of like the other episode I said, what the world ending one. The Earth will continue no matter what happens. Like every human could die today, and the Earth's going to shake us off like a bad case of fleas and keep right on trucking, and it's fine.
Well, I'm curious to hear about the cow farts because we are already.
Yeah. So it's not
Pretty
cow
relevant.
farts. It is.
I feel like I need to put some music in here.
Hit the button.
I know what he's about to push. It's not directly about the. Oh. He just had to prove me wrong, didn't he? Because that's not where I thought it was going.
That was the closest one.
No, it's not. It's not specifically about the cow farts. It's about livestock. Livestock is contributing to global warming, but not in the way you would think. The theory is that the feed crops and what it takes to grow the crops to feed the livestock is causing global warming, which is true. How much of the farming in the U.S. goes to feeding humans.
Well, actually, you got a point there because before livestock was created, levels were a lot lower. You get my sarcasm there?
Yeah.
They've always been here.
Have they always been here in the numbers that they're at?
Well, I don't know.
The answer is no, not even close.
I really don't know.
How much of farming feeds us?
I don't know.
Not as much as you would think. 90% of all soybeans grown in the U.S. and 95% of all corn grown in the U.S., which is our two biggest crops, go to feeding livestock.
Which feed us.
Yes. Think about how many mechanisms have to work to grow, harvest, store, feed, move, manipulate, et cetera, that amount of livestock. That is a contributing factor. Is it the same level of a contributing factor as that 100 companies and all their pollution? No.
Well, did they ever do a livestock census like back in the 70s or the early 1900s and see how many
And
animals
ask what their belief system was and where they resided.
No, I mean,
what their
seriously,
highest level of education
we have no
was.
way of knowing,
Well, I've got a suggestion.
I'll hear it and then I'll retort to that.
Okay, we can go ahead and get rid of all the livestock and start making you veggie burgers.
Wait a minute. I got a better idea.
Okay.
Oh, Christ.
We'll push that button to go back to a point in our life, and we'll go back in the 70s and we'll count the livestock then.
You realize that you can do this, right?
What? Go back?
No, you can articulate the numbers. Not to like the degree of like where there were 3,742 and 1/2 cows in 1972. You can't do that. But the majority of livestock is not raised by your farmer down the street anymore. It's raised by commercial growers.
Are they some of the...
Probably. I trust no corporation to not be polluting the earth. I don't like corporations.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's an easy articulation. Is like they processed X amount of cows in 1972 versus X amount of cows in 2025. 2025 is significantly higher.
It probably
Because the
is.
population is so much higher of humans. I'm not saying that it's not a necessity. I'm saying that it is a driving factor. And the only reason that I wrote any of this down is because I knew cow farts was going to come up.
He knows you.
That is the only reason.
I never even thought cow farts would come up. It was just there.
When we talked about this, I sat down last night to take my notes, and I was like, there's no way I'm getting through this conversation without Tony being like, those freaking cow farts ruining the earth.
Sound like old Mad Max. My butt. My big hairy butt.
I think he's dead now.
Is he?
I think so.
I don't know who it was. I always thought it was one of the...
No, it wasn't one of. It was part of. It wasn't like a guy that called. I think was it a guy that called in? I don't remember. No,
there was a guy on John Boy and Billy.
And John Boy and Billy is syndicated, so
Yeah.
they can't pin us down, even though it's really not that freaking hard to find us if you try that. No, yeah, Mad Max was great.
Yeah, I think... I think, honestly, in my opinion, just to kind of wrap things up here because we're getting kind of long, is I don't think we're affecting it or can change it. That's just my opinion. I'm no scientist.
I don't think we as individuals can change it, but I think if we did put some regulations on industry and corporations, we could make a difference.
And we could in the United States, but there's no way you're going to regulate the others.
Well, you think that, but you haven't accepted that there's a global world order pulling all the strings.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we've accepted that.
Yeah, we know that.
We could regulate whatever the hell we want to because we've got that. That's a different podcast.
Yeah, a whole different podcast.
Next time, we're going to discuss taxes and where Tony thinks we should make cuts to the defense budget.
And the Illuminati. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up,
David,
guys.
do you have any closing thoughts?
I think we just need to close.
Okay. Well, with that said, wherever you go,
Whatever you do.
stay bona fide.